designed to inspire you to become brave again. Becoming, aligning is a journey of evolving to become the best version of ourselves through constant reinvention and lifelong learning. So I'm Clarice Lin, and I have my co-host Edison Zhang. And today,
Hi everyone!
yay! And today we have our guest, Joseph Kennedy.
Hello.
Cool.
Hello. Good afternoon, Clarice, and good morning, I.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm going to introduce you a little bit to let our audience know. So, hi everyone, to those of you who are tuning in. We have our guest today, Joseph Kennedy from the UK, and he's living in Bangkok right now. So Joseph is an environmental copywriter by trade, but don't let that be his defining activity. So when he's not penning words about sustainability or running his small copywriting agency, Content Pathway, he's teaching English, working as a voice actor, learning multiple languages, or going off on wild adventures. So Joseph has told me he has been working remotely for over 5 years, with almost 4 years on his own terms. So he's a practicing follower of Stoicism, which he's going to tell us a little bit more later. He's an avid reader, a ukulist and singer, a keen photographer, and an all-round creative. Wow! So he's currently based in Bangkok for a year, and he has lived all over Spain, as well as Morocco, Portugal, and the Czech Republic. So he's 27 years this year and is on his mission to explore, create, and connect. So let's give him a warm welcome. Yay!
Yeah, welcome to the show, Joseph. We are so honored to have you. And the more I get to know you, the more I'm just like so inspired. I think I'm a decade older than you, but you have experienced so much in life that is so really encouraging and inspiring, and I can't wait to learn more about your journey, and hopefully we can
Been an easy journey by any means. There's been a lot of challenges, but I'm really pleased to be here and living in Bangkok. It's something I didn't even think was possible 5 years ago.
That's so amazing. That's a great way actually to get started with our interview today. And by the way, we are live, I think, on different social media channels, and let us know where you guys are joining us from. We should be live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Paris. I'm not sure about Periscope, and also on YouTube. So Joseph, as you mentioned, you have been working remotely for 5 years. And so can you please share with us what inspired you to become a digital nomad? How did you get started on this journey? So what is your why to have such an interesting, I guess not that unique, but uncommon lifestyle? So if you can share the stories, the why behind this decision with us.
Sure. And I got an internship working remotely for a recycling company. And it was great. It was in marketing and PR. I learned absolutely loads. I did a great job and taught me everything. And he built up my confidence and turned me into more of a man than a boy. And after about a year and a half working with him, I had an idea for my own business, but I wasn't quite ready to start it. So I got another job. I thought I'll take a step up, a bigger salary, more responsibility. I just didn't enjoy it. So after 3 months, I quit that job. I had very little money in the bank, and I said, okay, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to start my business. And it has to be remote. It has to help the environment, and it has to allow me to travel and pursue my own goals and interests. So yeah, I'd spotted this gap which was when I was working for the recycling company in marketing, a lot of our partners and customers all said the same thing. It's so hard working with generalist marketers in such a niche industry. There's very few marketing. I can solve that. I can fill that gap. And so that's what I set out to do. But of course, I didn't have much money. I didn't have much clue. I'd never started a business. I was 23 and completely jumped in at the deep end. And a few months in, I was flat broke. And I had £200 in my bank, and I was in Chiang Mai with £200 and a flight ticket home. For a bit, I bounced from sofa to sofa, and then I taught English. And after 13 months, I finally started making a profit, and enough to travel remotely and independently.
Wow, that's really impressive, very interesting. So during the very beginning, and were you ever feel frustrated and wanting to give up? So what is the inner journey or struggle? Share with us.
There was definitely a time I wanted to give up. It was about 2 months after I started teaching English. I just thought, maybe I'm not cracked out to do this, maybe I'm not. So I said, okay, I'm gonna just stop looking for customers and focus on developing my skills. So yeah, I just completely put the brakes on sales, and I was in a Facebook group for entrepreneurs, something the 9 to 5, really great group, and there was a few people in there offering free coaching, and they wanted to kind of test drive their coaching courses. So I managed to get on 2 of these.
That's awesome.
And I had free one-on-one coaching with really great coaches. Shout out Dan Taylor, he was amazing. And they just kind of filled my gaps in knowledge so well that when I finished their courses, I felt rejuvenated. I felt really inspired to start again. And suddenly, I just put into motion the things they taught me, and client. 2 weeks later, I had enough work. And,
wow.
Yeah, and suddenly, within 2 months, my online work was taking over my teaching work. And 2 months after that, I just was forced to quit teaching because the business had got to a point where I couldn't teach. I had too much stuff to do.
That's a great problem to have, right?
But I was certainly frustrated. You have this issue that, with not much of a portfolio, who's going to hire you, and then it's the same problem. It's how can you build a portfolio if no one hires you? It's the same. It's entry into any industry. How can you get a job with no experience? So, I bided my time and put in the hours, and it paid off. Yeah.
That's just really amazing. So it is in retrospect, as you are thinking, reflecting on this journey, what do you think are some of the biggest, because you have been working and traveling for 5 years, right? So looking back, what do you think, if you can kind of summarize and share with us, what do you think are the 3 biggest challenges or fears that you have to overcome?
There's a huge one, is that, am I missing out on, a typical lifestyle and career? As I see my friends get married and buy houses and have cars and, set out this traditional trajectory for life, am I missing that by being atypical? Is that gonna cause complications later in life? Am I gonna hit my mid-30s and think, oh, I'm just a big kid, with a laptop? So that has played on my mind sometimes. and I guess that does make me try and be a bit more serious, save money, develop my skills, ensure that, I am growing as a person, even if I'm not being, on society's normal. Yeah, that's a big challenge to overcome. Another thing is like staying relevant and customer retention. I rely on my long-term customers. I've been working with customers for 3 years, even longer. Because if you do a good job and build trust and build loyalty and relationship, you kind of don't always need to look for new customers. You can just keep growing with the existing ones.
That's right, yeah.
And so a challenge that has cropped up in the past is kind of like if you let one client get too big and you begin relying on that stream of income and then it collapses, you can get yourself in hot water.
Absolutely.
And I've done it in the past. One customer becomes 50-60% of your income, and then suddenly they say, we're going to work with someone else, or project's over, or we haven't got the budget, or our budget's been pulled, and you're just like, oh, uh-oh.
Wow. So this happened to you before?
That's happened to me twice, yeah.
Wow.
So that's a big challenge to overcome.
So what did you learn? What did you learn from that? Like just having this, like becoming like, I think for me, what I learned is not so much not exactly the same as in your situation, but what I learned is, so I tend to just rely on one social media platform, but then I realized, no, I have to really diversify. So what did you learn from an experience like that?
Well, I kind of came up with this idea. I mean, it's probably not original. I'm sure many people have done it. But I sat down with Charlie, who's a guy that I work very, very closely with, and we said, how do we stop this from happening again? And we said, if we get customers on either 6-month contracts or 12-month contracts, and each time we bring on a new customer, they have to pay either the same or more than the last customer that we took on. And then when the oldest contract finishes, we can bring them onto the new rate or let them go. And hopefully by that time we've brought on a customer to, not just replace their stream of income, but actually improve it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like upgrading and listening. So that's been good, and it's also not relying too much on one customer, it's just being cautious of it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So you shared 2 challenges. A third one that you can think of to share with us?
Well, the internet challenge, of course. It's really can be so hard as a digital nomad. Sometimes hotel Wi-Fi is dreadful. Sometimes you're somewhere that claims to have Wi-Fi and just doesn't. I've had quite a lot of times where I rely on my mobile data. For example, January and February this year, I was living in Tenerife, and I found a studio to rent, and it didn't have internet, didn't have Wi-Fi. So when I turned up, they said, "Oh no, sorry, we don't have it anymore. We cancelled it." And that's complicated because I kind of need it. So I have a SIM card with GiffGaff is the network, and it's £20 for 20 gigabytes. And I was just hotspotting for 2 months, and I must have spent £300 on data, which it's not sustainable. But needs must. I needed data. I needed to get on the internet.
Yeah. So kind of to follow up on that, how about like time difference? When we were in Korea, like I think one of the hardest challenge of working remotely for me was to deal with like time zone differences. Like many of my friends and the people I work with are based in the United States. So is that also a challenge for you?
Actually, not so much. Like most of my email interactions are through email, and I do all of my business work in the evenings and at weekends. So at the weekends, I don't expect any immediate response. and in the evenings I'm 6 hours ahead of my customers. So maybe I sit down to work at 6 o'clock. That's a great time to reply to emails because people are there in the UK. So I'd say actually it works in my favor because I can reply and it's good. I'm kind of working at the same time as my customers.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I loved when you are in South.
The biggest challenge is actually keeping in contact with my mum, because when I wake up she's asleep, and when I finish work she's at work, and when I go to bed she's at work, and when she finishes work I'm asleep. So I just don't get to talk to her in the week, and we're really close. So I always try and make time at the weekend.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, yeah. Do you want to ask another question, Claire, or you want me to?
Sorry, just sorting out the tech a little bit. Yeah, no, it's a really amazing journey that Joseph is on, and I think we talk a little bit. Oh, actually, what I came to know Joseph was actually through LinkedIn itself. And at that time he was doing like a 30-day content challenge, so he was posting out every day, and I was reading something. I was reading his content and his findings from the type of content he's putting out. So I was just wondering, is there any sort of do you still use LinkedIn very often now to get your clients, Joseph?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago, Clarice. August 2017. I just finished walking the Camino de Santiago when I started that. Yeah, I'm actually not really looking for customers right now. I love the customers I've got. I'm doing amazing work. Sometimes, I get really interesting inbound projects that I just can't say no to. But outbound marketing and sales, I'm not looking at the moment. That's because the customers I'm working with are doing such great work, and they work nicely for me with my limited free time, my schedule, time zone difference. They all really respect what I do and my services, and that's great. So LinkedIn I'm not using so much. I post occasionally, whereas before was very regularly. Saying that, when I go to Europe and go back to doing business full time, yeah, you'll see a lot more of me on LinkedIn for sure.
That's interesting. So right now you are kind of working full time as an English teacher, and then running your business and working with the clients, kind of like side hustles, right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a really positive byproduct of that recycling system I said earlier, because we spent so much time increasing the rates, by doing short-term contracts and increasing it, that by working, I was earning the same money now I'm earning the same money now for 10 hours a week that I was for 50 hours a week 3 years ago.
Wow.
So it put me in the nice position where I have lots of free time, and the problem with that is I love to be busy. So in Tenerife, I was totally bored. I was hiking, I was going to the gym, spending time at the beach, reading absolutely so many pages of books, and I was just bored. And I knew that it was time to work on a side hustle, second income, just do something that makes me happy and feel productive. And that's teaching English. I love teaching English. The kids, they give me so much joy. They're so funny. I can't believe how many crazy things happen in those classrooms. But I was in Tenerife and I decided, I'm going to move to Asia for 1 year and teach English. And so I applied for Tokyo, Taipei, Bangkok, and Udon Thani, which is in the northeast of Thailand. But Bangkok was my first choice, and I got the first company I applied for offered me the job, and it all happened so quickly.
It is so amazing. Like just listening to you, I feel like you had like 48 hours a day compared to myself. Like so much free time. I really love it. I really love it. Very interesting. So how do you like, was it hard for you to kind of balance? I'm sure when you are in a foreign country, you're really excited, you want to go out to travel, to explore. So was it hard for you to balance the fun part with kind of working like in the evening and to balance everything? And like,
No, it's not that hard. Like it's such I have such a nice balance of lifestyle now. I can tell you kind of my routine.
Okay.
I get up
share
every
with
day.
us.
Yeah.
Make us
5:45.
feel jealous.
Yeah, my 5:45, my first alarm goes off. Uh, I'm at the office by 6:30, and I start teaching around 8:30. Finish usually around between 2 and 3 o'clock. I go home. I'm home by 4, and then I go to the gym or I go running or swimming, and then from 5:30 I've got the whole evening to do whatever. I like to read and work on the business, and at the weekends I like to travel. So sometimes I get up early on a Saturday morning, do a few hours work, just make sure I'm up to date or ahead, and then I've got the whole weekend free. Yeah, time's not an issue. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm an early
This is
person.
incredible because everyone I feel like struggle with like I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that, and you were like, time is not an issue. I just love this. Amazing. Yeah.
When my alarm goes, I'm up and I'm out of bed and I'm in the shower in 10 seconds. Like I'm so raring to go every day, and that has got me in trouble at work because I am arguably the happiest, most energetic, and get out kind of person in the office. And in the morning, some people just say, "I don't like how happy and how smiley, how much life you have at 6 a.m."
That's interesting. Do you think it is because you are in a foreign country that makes you a lot more excited about the country, about life, compared to people who are local? Or like, what is it that makes you this way?
I've just been this way for years. I'm so privileged to live this digital nomad lifestyle. I've worked hard to make it for myself, but I count my blessings, and I really value it. It's something so special, and I know that in future when I look back, I'm gonna be proud of my achievements, and just it's incredible. It motivates me every day.
Wow.
There's very few negatives in my life right now. Like everything is good, and it has been for quite a long time. And even when the negatives come, that's when I fall back on my stoicism, which I think we'll cover later.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
It's very interesting because I think, Joseph, we had this little chat, I think a couple of days ago. We talked about your interest in stoicism and how you've been regularly practicing it, and it sort of helped to keep you grounded. So tell us a little bit more about sort of how you stumbled upon it and what kind of like routine or how do you practice it every day?
Okay, well, actually, I'd heard of Stoicism when I was younger. Like I was aware of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, Epictetus. I knew these names, but I didn't read them. And it must be 3 years ago, I was on a podcast. Shout out to Stephen Pacanza and Melissa Rautenberg from the Creative Hustler podcast. After I was a guest on their podcast, they sent me a copy of Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way, from California to southern Spain. And that book was just like a mental awakening. And the main teaching of that book has really cemented itself on me that, the obstacle is the way. The challenges that we face are there to improve us. They're not there to stop us or to hinder us. They are there so that when we reach the finish line, we are better, we are stronger, in better condition. So that initial discovery of Stoicism was that, and then I just went and bought all of Brian Holiday's books. I bought Epictetus and Epicurus and Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, and that summer I just read all of them and was mind blown. And there's 3 mantras from that really, guide me. Obviously, the obstacle is the way being the main one. Second one, focus your energy on the things you can change, ignore or embrace everything else.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I
can you repeat them again? I love them. Can you repeat them again?
Okay, the first one, the obstacle is the way. I mean, it's Brian Holiday's words. But yeah, focus your energy on the things you can change, ignore or embrace everything else. I mean, that's just a simple recipe for happiness. So I don't sweat and stress like I used to. I can't really change people's opinions of me except by living a better life.
Wow.
If I miss the bus, well, that gives me 10 minutes to do something else. If it starts raining, I don't mind. I just don't mind. And maybe isn't that the point of being stoic, is that you don't really mind. It's not apathy. It's much simpler than that. It's
I almost like surrender, right? A little bit, like kind of like, yeah. Oh, I love this. And can you also explain the first one? The obstacle is the way. So how has this like value, like statement, kind of like influenced your approach to business and life?
The example I gave earlier was like I relied too much on one customer. So then I, diversified my income and I built the foundations. And, losing that customer taught me to do business better and to spread my income streams. It's things like that. It's the hard lessons teach us the biggest truth. Failures teach us us to be successful.
I love, yeah. I'm going to like implement those two. Yeah. So there's actually a question from Daniel, and he's joining us live from YouTube, and he's asking you, and if you are trying to work internationally, is it easier if you already have kind of a base of clients who want to work with you? You already have that established. So if not, so what are some of the challenges in terms of a business development if you are actually abroad?
That is a good question. It is difficult if you're already abroad because you already have bills to pay. You have, you need to pay for your room and your food and stuff. So it is challenging. If you don't have a solid income and you're away from home or like, a free place to stay, then you're under a great deal more pressure. So for me, I said during the first year, actually I volunteered for a few months, like doing work away. Then I went to Asia and then I started teaching English. So all of that was super cheap. Like I just did everything really on a budget because I knew that the income wouldn't come thick and fast. It would sustain myself otherwise. So yeah, to answer Daniel, I think it might make more sense for some people to build the income before they leave their home country. But if they're abroad already, just be sensible about it. Don't live within your means. Don't overspend. And yeah, I mean, if you put in a lot of hours doing good work, profitable work, then it's going to work out. But I know too many laptop professionals who spend too much time, on BuzzFeed.
Yeah. That's right. I wonder if you can share with us some like kind of resources that you have for kind of to follow up on Dan's question that you have for people who are thinking about embarking on a like digital nomad lifestyle. So like some resources, or you mentioned Facebook group, like what are some things that we can leverage and can like get prepared before we start the journey?
For sure. Well, on the mindset side, then yeah, what I said about stoicism, that puts you in a really good mind frame. But in terms of actual business resources, my first week of business, I read 4-Hour Work Week.
Ooh, yeah, yes.
Every digital nomad, almost everyone has read that book because it is the Bible of this lifestyle. It's the baby. It gave birth to this movement. It is a great book. It really is. I also think How to Win Friends and Influence People is a helpful resource, because if you're going to try and make money online, you're going to have to deal with people, and not face to face. It's digital conversations, and if you can't converse digitally, you're really going to struggle. You have to be able to hold a conversation in a messenger. So yeah, I think working on digital people skills is one thing.
I love that term.
Yeah. And doubleyourfreelancer.com. I think that's the right address. It's Brennan Dunn. He's an incredible copywriter. His copy just sucks you in and you just read it to the end. He's amazing. And he's got all these great guides on his website, how to make money online, how to double your income, how to be a freelancer in various different professions, how to manage clients. And he's got all these great sales tricks, that they do work. And for example, he says, if a customer comes along and he knows they've got a massive budget and they say, we want to hire you for a week, next week, he says, I'm busy next week. How about January, 3 months away? And they say, no, we need you right now. He says, oh, well, maybe I can move some things around, but it's going to cost you double. And they say, we want you, we want to work with you, you've come recommended. He goes, oh, okay, I'll get back to you. And he says he has an empty calendar. But he takes risks, and sometimes you need to take risks, play these gambles, and that's sales, isn't it? There's so many tricks to the trade. That is a great resource. There's also John Buchan, it's Buchan.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the group, but he has a Facebook group and email series that you can subscribe to, and he has so many resources. The guy is a genius. He's a really high earning copywriter from the UK.
Wow, what's the name again of this guy?
John Buchan, so it's Jon and then Buchan. Yeah, he's great. Charlie Price, Tyler Koenig, they're great copywriters as well. I mean, mostly for me, I follow the copywriter scene because that's where I make my money. So, if you want to make money writing online, I'll give you my main tips would be be a specialist. Find your niche and dominate it. Live by your words. If you write about motorsports, you better have a cool car. That's the thing. If you write about gardening, you better have a garden. Like,
So sad. Yeah.
yeah. If you don't practice what you preach, it's quite hard to be authentic with your audience. And another thing is be direct, because the worst thing people can say is no. Some people are so scared of rejection. You just can't be. If you want to make money online, you got to just kick that out the window. I'm the opposite, and people think I'm crazy. I say I want to hear no. I'm always looking to hear no. No's the thing I want to hear the most. And they like, why? And I said, because no means they're not going to waste my time.
Oh yeah.
If I pitch a potential customer and they tell me no in the first email, I'm really grateful. If they bounce 2 weeks on emails and then tell me no after the 57th email, I am not happy.
That's right.
Not happy. A quick no so that I can move on to the next pitch. And that's it. And another great tip is always propose the next step. Don't let the customer do it, because they will dawdle, they will waste your time, they will lightly step around the issue. You have to say, we're going to do a call on Tuesday, or let's book this in, I'm going to call you then, I'm going to do this, expect this in your inbox. You have to be so proactive and not reactive, because reactive doesn't work.
Wow, those are some really great tips. I was like taking notes like crazy. I wish I were as wise as you are right now when I was younger, but I guess it's not too late.
So we are supposed to, based on Stoicism, we are supposed to accept and embrace. At least it's happening now.
I'm learning. Yeah.
Well, you can't change the past, but the future is, it's yours to do whatever you like with.
Which brings us to a very good point. I think in your bio you mentioned quite a bit about the 4 books that you have self-published, and then you were featured on like Forbes and HuffPost. So can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, okay. The first book I self-published, it makes me cringe now looking back on it. But it was when I first started the business, the first month. During that first month, I wrote a book about why I was quitting my corporate job to start my own business with no savings, no clear idea, and no clue about business. And that was kind of like, my motivations behind it, how I was going to do it, and my experience as a digital before that. Because I'd had a remote job, so I'd been a remote worker and I'd traveled with that. And so I knew that I loved the lifestyle. I just now had to do it for myself. So that's what that first book is about. It's so outdated that most of the advice is just dreadful. And I feel to anybody who's bought it since, I'm so sorry. Email me and I will give you better advice. I'm sorry. The other 3 books are more like in-depth story city guides. So Brno in the Czech Republic, Essaouira in Morocco, and Tarifa in Spain. So Tarifa is where I taught English. Essaouira is a beautiful, sleepy, beachy surf town in Morocco. And if you've seen Game of Thrones, it's Slaver's Bay, where Khaleesi buys the Unsullied. And you've got Brno, Czech Republic, which, I ended up there by accident, and one night turned into 13 months, and I just loved it there. So those guides list all of the best places to go for food, for drink, for culture, the best local places to travel, how to travel, things you can do, things you can't do, some cultural things, words you need to know, just kind of like an in-depth city guide. So mixed with my experiences, so I don't just say about the lake, I tell you a story of when I went to the lake. It's a piece of me mixed with the city. And maybe I'll write one for Bangkok, but I'm not sure yet, because there's too much. I've done too much, and I think I don't have enough life to write this book. Bangkok is a wild beast. It's an animal. I look outside and it's terrifying, but I love to run into the jungle. So, yeah.
How many countries have you actually visited so far? I don't know, because you just mentioned all the countries and your city guides, which is like really in depth. So have you also visited like other countries before, other cities?
Yeah, last year, 2018 alone, I did 20 countries, and some of those were repeats. Like I did Germany 3 times, Kosovo twice, Macedonia 4 times. I got around a lot. I went to Austria 4 or 5 times, Poland a couple of times. I moved around a lot, and I had an apartment in the Czech Republic, which was like my base, and is an amazing place to travel from. And I miss the Czech Republic deeply. Wonderful people, great culture.
I'm just so inspired. I think I'm going to pack up after the show and just go out, buy a ticket and go. This is just so amazing. I really just feel like, many of us, I don't know if you can relate to this or anyone in the live audience. I feel like many of us, our life is based on our job, like then we design our life to meet the needs of our work. But you take such a different approach, so you know what lifestyle that you want to have, and then somehow magically you designed a work style to meet your life. This is so fascinating. That's why I love this so much. I'm so inspired.
You figured me out. You've solved the problem of life. You've cracked the mystery.
But I think this gives lots of people like courage, to show that we can do the same. We don't have to feel like so miserable. We don't like our work. We want to travel. Everybody says that, but so few of us actually take the action to figure this out. But like, I'm just so inspired by what you are doing, Joseph. It is really amazing, especially at such a young age compared to us.
I mean, there are sacrifices, I barely see my friends and family. That's a big challenge. I miss them. I don't see them enough, and I don't speak to them enough. And that's a sacrifice I had to make. It's not always easy. The money doesn't always flow in, and sometimes you end up in a place that you don't really love, and then you've already paid for the studio. You've already kind of committed to being there, and sometimes it's quite hard. There's been places that I didn't really enjoy. So yeah, you try and make what you can of it. But I mean, for the most part, it's just amazing. Like it's a great learning curve. I think overall, my love is learning, is education, is growing my mind. That's why I read so many books. I just consume loads of information. And I teach, but teaching is learning, really. Like, I learn so much from those kids. And I love languages. I speak Spanish to a very high level. I speak conversational Czech, although it's terrible now because I haven't spoken it since October. And yeah, I'm learning Thai. So Pomgan Pasa Thai. But Thai is difficult, but it's such a beautiful language.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's just I think you can do whatever you want, whatever you put your mind to. You just have to want it, and yeah, work can get in the way. My first few months when I went and did work away, that was like the start of me re-engineering my kind of perspective on work. It was like, I'm happy to volunteer for food and accommodation working 4 hours a day, because they're the basic needs, right? If you've got food, you've got a bed, and you've got Wi-Fi, which is the third new basic human right. What more do you need? So at that point, with no income, live nowhere in Spain, I hadn't to spend my money on, and so in all of my free time, I was just free to be creative and work hard and make money and find customers, and I didn't have to sell out. I didn't have to use not Workaway, sorry. I didn't have to use Upwork. I didn't have to go on any skill marketplaces and drop on my rates to really low levels. I was so against that idea. I studied for 4 years. I have a good degree and good experience. I believed that I was worth a fair rate. I just had to put myself in a position where I could afford to find people willing to pay it.
Wow, amazing.
So actually, I think rounding back a little bit, like I believe
Do you want to ask another question, Clarence, or
yeah,
you want me?
yeah. No, I have a question about when you're featured on Forbes and those publications. Can you share with us, like, how did you get featured, and what's the secret, if there is any?
Well, actually, it's a good time. It came about by accident, really. I joined Quora, Quora. I'm sure you're familiar. It's like a Q&A platform that, you know, gets experts from the community to answer the questions. I just kind of looked around, and if I saw a question that I wanted to answer, I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to do it by half measures. I am going to treat that answer with the full respect that it deserves. So there's no quick rubbish answer. All of my answers are, you know, formatted, you know, got bullet points, they're you know, sourced, we've got images, videos, you know, everything has to be interesting to read. I was like, I'm going to treat these answers like high quality blog posts. And I think I answered five questions. And a couple of days later, I got a message from a publisher from Forbes. She said, I absolutely love reading that. So can I publish this on Forbes? And I said, I just laughed. I said, you're joking, right? Of course you can.
Oh my God.
I thought she was messing with me, and she said, no, really. She said, yeah, and I've got connections at Apple News and Huffington Post and Inc. and all these sites. She said, if I send you some links to some questions on Quora, can you answer them? So I answered a few of these questions, and suddenly, I was getting published all over the place. I mean, I wasn't getting paid for it, but the backlinks are awesome. And then I think for me, the coolest one, it's not Forbes, it's not Inc., it's a Business Insider German website, because they got a translator to translate my article into German.
Wow.
For me, that's the most awesome one, because they obviously saw enough value that it was worth turning into another language. And then, same day, 3 Germans that I'd met during my travels all messaged me to say, "Was ist this? I have seen your article." Oh, I just couldn't believe it. They, like, why are you on my news homepage? You know, why am I seeing you here in German? You know, and it went viral on Business Insider, and I think I got like 18,000 hits on the first day or something like that. And
Wow! Congratulations.
it was awesome, you know. So
That is amazing. So are you still active on Quora? Like, no.
I'm not active anywhere. I'm active on Instagram, which is such a sign of my generation. But I love doing an Instagram story, and I've got into photography. My best friend bought me a really nice camera for my birthday last year, and that has changed the way I travel. I bought a nice lens to go with it, and so now when I travel, I'm looking for beautiful pictures and great sceneries, and I used to look for great restaurants and great bars, and I think now it's more aligned with who I am. It's looking for beautiful nature, and I'm much happier when I'm my photography. But I don't have too much to say recently. I just keep my head down. I'm trying to work, trying to stay out of the limelight. This is almost a gap year for me. It's almost a year off of business, for new business. Allowed it to be quiet, allowed it to meet my needs. You know, I still make more money from my online business than I do from teaching English full time. So, you know, haven't let it die out, certainly not. You know, it's still making a nice income, and I'm saving loads. You know, I just wanted to be a bit quieter, and teaching English has always been my plan B. You know, I did my teaching English certificate 5 years ago, before I had a remote job. You know, before I had traveled, I had done my teaching English online certificate so that I could one day teach abroad. There's always been in the back of my mind to do it, and it was a great plan B during my first year of business when the coffers ran dry and the income wasn't coming, and now it's a passion. It's a paying hobby. You know, it's an exhausting one, but it's rewarding.
Yeah.
So
this is amazing. Yeah.
I have a question about the environment and sustainability. Because Joseph, your agency, which is Content Pathway, is the #1 UK's copywriting agency for the environment. So could you share with us a little bit, like, why environment and sort of like how different it is maybe from the other industry in this case?
Yeah. Well, say my first job out of university, I was working for a recycling company, and I learned so much during that job. I became passionate about it. Before that, I cared, but I didn't know. And then the more I knew, the more I cared. And I was writing and researching and just learning about more than recycling. Recycling is just a small part. And I suddenly became interested in a lot of stuff. Permaculture, in compostability, in ocean plastic pollution, in air pollution, in sprawl, urban sprawl, and there's so many things I've written about. Today I was writing about hedgehog rewilding. One of my customers, she has a small, it's like a side project, like a hedgehog rewilding sanctuary, and I'm writing about it. It's amazing. And what so has been a blessing for me is that whilst I've done this, the sustainability movement has just exploded. It's so big now. So, I mean, why is it important? I mean, it's everything, isn't it? It's our future. It's the present as well. But we have to make choices. We have to make changes. It's not easy. And living in Thailand, the plastic pollution is unbearable. It stresses me out. And I've learned all of the phrases to refuse plastic in Thai. And I'm just, just have to be careful, like not to upset anyone. They're crazy here. There's so much plastic. It does, and it's not just me. All of the foreigners I know just kind of shake their head in disbelief at the plastic problem. They triple bag. If you buy a plastic bottle of water, they put it in a small plastic bag that goes in a bigger plastic bag with a plastic straw in a plastic wrapper, and then they put the receipt in the bag for a small bottle of water, and I'm horrified. We've got to.
But I think this experience really makes you believe even stronger in what you are doing. Like be more conscious of how we are treating our environment, which is great. Yeah, very interesting. I'm just trying to be respectful, to respect everyone's time. So what's next for you, Joseph? Which country are you going to go visit next?
I'm going to Singapore and Malaysia in October. I've got like 2.5 week holiday. I'm so excited.
First time?
First time, yeah. Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Langkawi, Penang, and Hat Yai. It's first time. In Asia, I've just been to Thailand and Cambodia, so this is a new one for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And yeah, I'm going to be here in Thailand until March, and then back to Europe for many weddings and lots more adventures. I've got a long list of would-be travels, things that I really, really want to do.
That's awesome.
So I have one question. I mean, not one question. So if there is someone who is sort of like, younger self, what advice would you give them if they're sort of starting on this path? Like, what is the thing that, one thing that you would tell them to do?
Well, good question, because two of my colleagues have both kind of been asking me for help along these lines. Number one, while you have an income, while you have a roof over your head and an income and a level of comfort that you will lose if you quit your job and pursue a business, use this time to absolutely educate yourself so that you are so well prepared. You need the right mindset, the right resources. You need a good circle of people around you to validate your ideas and support you, not financially, but to support you through encouragement and reality checks and accountability, you need those people. You need people, you need education, you need resources, you need to be mentally prepared for how hard it's going to be. It's just a case of being well prepared, and you can read, you can practice. You can practice doing business. That you can do simulated exercises. There's plenty you can do. You can practice rejection right now.
I love this. Actually, I think Claire's probably will agree with me that I think so far we have been hosting this show for more than a year, more than half a year, and many people who come here, they share the same message. You mentioned like be comfortable with being uncomfortable, prepare for rejection, all those things. It's very clear that for people, like I think if you want to follow the uncommon path, you have to somehow to be okay with being uncomfortable and be prepared for things like rejection. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And I have another one. If you could do dinner with one person that you really, 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 really want to have dinner with, who will that person be?
Oh, I have inspiration for me is Louis von Ahn. He's the founder of Duolingo and Capture. He invented the capture forms. So I don't know if you know this, but when you fill out a capture form, it gives you 2 randomly generated words. Yeah? When you sign up for a new website.
Oh yes, capture form, yeah.
So the old capture form, Capture 1.0, was just a random assignment of numbers and letters. The new one gives you 2 words, 2 photos of single words. And what he's trying to do is digitize pretty much every book in the world. So they have amazing scanner computers that are just photographing all of these books, and what you're doing when you sign up to Capture is you are confirming what the word says, because the computers aren't always sure. So when they've got like certain amount of confirmations, then it gets processed. And he kind of used that idea for Duolingo, because Duolingo's core purpose was actually, are you aware of Duolingo?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, okay, she knows.
It's the app for sort of practicing like a new language, right? They're using,
it was developed after a conversation between Louis von Ahn and Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia. Jimmy Wales said, it's going to cost me $50 million to translate Wikipedia into Spanish. And Louis von Ahn said, well, why don't we teach people Spanish and get them to do it for free? So that's actually the mechanism of Duolingo, is you are translating Wikipedia without realizing it.
Wow.
Which I think is just genius. So this guy's digitizing 100 million books, and he's helped 50 million people learn a second language. That, for me, he's like one of the best people on this planet.
Genius, yeah.
Like, with him, I think I would just be in awe.
That's amazing. Also shows how we think is so important. Yeah, it's just like kind of a switch in terms of how we think and approach the situation can be totally different. Yeah.
Some people see problems and some people see solutions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Such a great interview. Yeah. So where can people learn more about you? Like Instagram, and you want to share with us?
Yeah, you can follow Instagram. Instagram is @CaptureJoseph. Like capture a photo, or try and capture me. Capture Joseph. And LinkedIn, it's Joseph Kennedy, Kennedy. And I have a Facebook page. If you search Joseph Kennedy Environmental Copywriter, you'll find me there. My website is www.cpath.co.uk. CPath is short for Content Pathway.
Okay.
That's my online presence. So, yeah. Thank you. If anybody chooses to follow, I'm really grateful. And ladies.
Yeah, we have like lots of people join us live on LinkedIn, so everyone is inspired by your journey, by your stories, and how you think and how you approach life. So I'm definitely being inspired. So thank you. Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you so much. Anybody watching this, please feel free to connect with me. I'm happy. If you have any questions, follow up, just drop me an inbox. Connect and inbox me. Happy to help.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us today, Joseph. I think all of us learned a lot. I think I can speak for our audience too from the comments that's coming up. And me as well. It's incredible to have this opportunity for you to share with us your journey, your learnings, and creating this inspiring us going forward. So we're going to get really excited. And yeah, before we go off again, actually I wanted to ask I about for our next episode, right? We're going to talk a bit about next episode.
So when's our next episode? So
I think next week, in September, we are planning to go. We're going to do 2 episodes, but I will be in Boston for inbound. So I think we'll be going live, but might not necessarily be doing the show. We could be talking a little bit about the future of education. I think it will be something really interesting. It's something that I'm also actually passionate about, because when I first graduated, I didn't really know what to do. Send a CV, how to apply for a job. I was like, what's this thing also about? And all the stuff that I learned in school was practically useless, I think. So I think we'll have an interesting conversation.
Talk about that. And I think, I don't remember the exact date, maybe Clarence knows, but approaching the end of September, and we are going to have a very interesting lady. She is a former professor, and she quit her job and becomes a comedian and a storyteller. So she's going to come to our show, Aida Chen. And she's going to come and share with us her story, how she has completely reinvented herself in her 50s and quitting a comfortable job of being an associate professor and became a comedian. So very interesting, definitely join us. And we are going to share and promote, and stay tuned for the exact date.
Cool. Awesome. I think that brings us to the end of our show. So thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you to our audience who has joined us live. If you have any questions, feel free to DM him after our show. He will show you the way.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. So take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.